Good evening and welcome to Your Money, Your Call. I'm Chris Kimber. If you've got a question about shares, our phone lines are open right now on 1300 30 34 35, or if you prefer, you can email us on yourmoney@skynews.com.au. Welcome to the program. Joining me tonight to offer some insight and to answer your questions are Kim Slater from County Securities and Tony Lecantro from Lecantro Capital. Well, another great day today. I think market closed up around about 20 or 30 points. And a lot of this is coming from the resource stocks. Our major top four resource stocks started to catch up to our extremely well-performing dividend and defensives. So it's been a market of Telstra, Tattersalls and the four banks, which actually did very well today as well. I think all the banks were up about 1 and 1.5%, but resources starting to catch up. Rio reported after market, beat all expectations, did very, very well. If Albanese is very lucky, he might be able to sneak his bonus in, whereas Marius had to give his up. We had Bradken, mining services stock, which has been sold down dramatically over the last few months. Had a big 10% rally yesterday, rallied another 4% yesterday. So now we've had 3 or 4 times. 2 weeks ago, we had the IMF tell us that China was going to keep growing at 8% GDP. We had the ex-IMF chief presenting at the Diggers and Dealers this week, talking about everyone being far too depressed. And that commodity prices were not going much lower than where they are at the moment. And then we've even had Glenn Stevens not give us a rate cut and talk about a nice soft landing in China. So I don't know how we can get many more of the major people explain to us that we're too depressed on our resource market and a lot of our stocks trading at prices as though our commodity prices are half. Iron ore, maybe 60 or 70 instead of 120. We're starting to see a reaction, but we're a long way from any sort of fundamental valuations on these stocks. But we might start with you, Kim. What do you think? And then we'll go to Tony after that.
Well, I think the Rio result says it all, because every broker report that I read on that this afternoon said accumulate.
Yeah. Valuation $90, but accumulate.
Target price $85. Yeah. So we've had all these chicken littles running around saying, in China, there's so much surplus office space that you could build a cubicle for every man, woman and child, and hence, real estate prices are going to fall in China, and China's doomed because its property market's overvalued. Yes, there are still some problems with China in growth. That growth is slowing, but the Chinese are aware of that, and they're aware that they want to maintain political stability and full employment as much as they possibly can. So this whole slowdown is a managed slowdown, and as everybody's been saying, growth is going to be between 7 and 8%. And that's what it will be. And the reality is that people have got to start pulling their heads out of their backsides and start smelling that. Well, that's true, because it's very easy to sit back and say the end of the world is coming because everything's going to end in China, and that's not the case. And we've got the evidence in front of us in the Rio result. Yep. The interesting thing that I saw a couple of days ago was some of the shipping stats coming out of Port Hedland. Yep. Now, they're showing that iron ore shipments have slowed down. Okay, well, that's surprising. Not surprising that they have slowed down, but they haven't stopped. Yes. It's just, they're down something like about 8 to 9% on a year-on-year basis. Okay, well, you'd expect that with iron ore prices coming off to where they are around $120 a tonne. The interesting thing about the Rio result, sorry Tony, I know you want to butt in here.
There's a long open here. We might get back to Rio later as well. Just a quick win.
A quick one about Rio is that the dividends, but the interim dividend's gone up 34% to 72.5 cents. Now, you know how we've been banging on this program for about the last 6 months about how resource companies have to up their dividend payers. Rio's still behind the 8 ball, because even if it does put its final divvy up and it pays something like $1.50, $1.60, it's still just going to be nudging that 3%. But if BHP, if this is the trend that that we've talked about, the BHP picks up on, we could really see that BHP dividend yield, get up and start touching 4%, and that's really going to be the push for the market to start.
It'll make a big difference to our index and their prices. Now, correct. Tony, your expertise is in the other end of the market, which I would have thought is a bit of a field day for you at the moment. A lot of these small caps would have been beaten up there. People aren't paying attention to that end. How important are the commodity prices at the moment? Because all of the big stocks are trading as though commodity prices are half what they are. What are you seeing at the small end?
Oh, we've been smashed all over the park for the last 2 years. Yep. But I know the rules. I go into a company and I've just got to say, well, I believe in it. And if I'm down 40 to 50% on paper at one stage, that's it. Because out the other end, there comes the multi-baggers, is what we've just seen. But I think in relation to China, I was bored on the plane and I was watching a documentary, and they're saying that the average factory worker in China can still save 50% of their income.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, well, we've just got to build a fence somewhere. They've got to keep us capitalists away with all our luxury goods and cheap credit cards, because otherwise that's going to destroy them.
Yeah.
So maybe there could be a massive debt-fueled bender in China as well, if we're allowed to infiltrate. And I just can't believe how frugally they live. They still save. They still look good. They can still walk around in a Louis Vuitton bag, which, I mean, these days, every girl I see with a Louis Vuitton bag, I just say fake.
Yes,
and it's a bit like their cleavage as well. It's a bit like when you're watching The Shire, you know, it's fake.
Well, you know the secret weapon of the Chinese army?
Yeah.
It's rice cookers. They're going to bomb us with rice cookers.
All right, boys. Now, this is a show about shares. We've had an interesting opening, but thank you very much for your patience. Ben, for waiting on from Brisbane. How can we help you, mate?